It always starts the same way. Someone asks you a simple question. How are you? What's going on? What's on your mind? And you have an answer. A real one. A layered one. A complicated, honest, human one. But you don't say it. You give the small version, the safe version, the short version. Nothing much. I'm fine. All good. 3-word sentences that hide entire worlds. Most people never notice. They assume you're quiet because you don't feel deeply. They assume you don't talk because you don't have anything to say. They assume your silence means emptiness. But silence is never empty. Not for people like you. Your silence is full. Full of thoughts you don't say out loud. Full of feelings you don't burden anyone with. Full of stories you keep tucked inside your chest. People think you're mysterious, or shy, or distant, or uninterested. But the truth is simple. You just don't speak unless it feels real. You don't waste words. You don't talk to fill space. You don't speak unless you mean it. You feel everything more than you show. You think more than you express. You observe more than you reveal. Talking isn't hard for you. It's draining, exposing, vulnerable, uncomfortable. Because words come with consequences. People misunderstand them. People twist them. People judge them. People forget them. People use them. People don't realize that some of the quietest individuals are the ones who feel the loudest things. You don't talk much because you learned early that talking doesn't always help. Maybe your family talked over you. Maybe no one listened when you spoke. Maybe you were punished for honesty. Maybe your voice was ignored. Maybe sharing your thoughts once caused pain you still remember. So now you stay quiet. Not because you don't care, but because you care too much. Because you don't want to be misunderstood. Because you don't want to say the wrong thing. Because you don't want to open a door you're not ready to walk through. Some people talk to think. You think before you talk. Some people speak to connect. You connect through presence, not noise. Some people share everything easily. You measure every word in your mind before letting any of them fall. Your silence isn't a wall, it's a filter, a boundary, a form of protection. You don't talk much because you're selective. Selective with your energy, selective with your emotions, selective with your trust. And trust, that's the real reason behind your quietness. People who don't talk much often trust slowly, not because they're cold, but because they're careful. Because trust, once broken, never feels the same again. Because the world has taught them that silence is safer than regret. You watch everything. You catch details other people miss. You notice expressions, tone changes, the way people choose their words. You listen not just to what people say, but to what they don't say. You pick up the unsaid, the hidden, the implied. People think silence is weakness, but they don't understand the strength it takes to sit with your thoughts instead of running from them. They don't understand the discipline of not talking just to talk. They don't understand the self-control of holding back when you could easily say something you'll regret. Quiet people are not empty. They're deep. They're intentional. They're thoughtful. Some people speak because silence makes them uncomfortable. Silence doesn't scare you. It feels natural, comfortable, safe. You don't see silence as a gap that needs filling. You see it as space. Space to think, space to breathe, space to observe the truth behind people's words. You don't talk much because you don't need to. Your presence speaks louder than noise. Your calmness speaks louder than chaos. Your focus speaks louder than shouting. People underestimate quiet people because they mistake silence for surrender. But silence is strategy. Silence is awareness. Silence is depth. Silence is power. You don't talk much because you think before you speak. You process before you respond. You understand before you express. This world doesn't reward that. This world rewards speed, noise, constant talking, people who speak quickly even if they don't have anything meaningful to say, people who respond instantly without thinking, people who fill silence because they're afraid of their own thoughts. But you're not like that. You don't rush, you don't force, you don't perform. You speak only when you want to, when it matters, when it feels right. People confuse that with being closed off, but you're not closed, you're cautious, you're selective, you're private. You don't give pieces of yourself to everyone. You share only with those who earn it, those who feel safe, those who don't judge, those who don't push you into speaking before you're ready. And when you do speak, it matters. People listen because your words come from intention, not impulse. You don't talk much because your thoughts are rich, because you think deeply before you express anything, because your inner world is louder than the outside world. But there is another truth too, a softer one, a more vulnerable one. You don't talk much because talking exposes your inside world, and you spent years protecting that world, years keeping it safe, years sheltering it from shallow people and chaotic situations. You don't talk much because your heart is sensitive. Not fragile, sensitive, tender, aware, honest. You feel things intensely, so you hide your depth behind quietness, because showing too much feels risky. Quiet people are complicated, sensitive, strong, self-protective, deeply loyal, deeply observant, deeply present. You don't talk much because your mind never stops moving. Your thoughts never stop flowing. There's always something happening inside you, even when nothing shows on the outside. Your silence isn't emptiness, it's activity, it's processing, it's reflection, it's emotion moving through you quietly. People think silence is the absence of sound, but your silence is the presence of your truth. You don't talk much because you speak inwardly more than outwardly. You listen to your inner voice. You understand your intuition. You let your thoughts settle before turning them into words. You don't talk much because you don't pretend. You don't fake interest. You don't fake confidence. You don't fake connection. You don't fake emotions. You say only what feels true, only what feels necessary, only what feels real. And real things can't be rushed. Quiet people are honest in ways loud people rarely are. Their silence says the things their mouths don't. Their presence carries what their words don't need to express. And maybe the most important truth is this: you don't talk much because you know the power of words. You know they can heal or destroy. You know they can create connection or chaos. You know they can reveal your heart to the wrong person or the right one. So you choose them carefully, gently, intentionally. People who don't talk much aren't hiding emptiness, they're protecting depth. And the world doesn't always understand that, but the right people do. The right people won't push you, won't pressure you, won't misunderstand your silence, won't mistake your quietness for distance. The right people know that your silence is not rejection, it's comfort, it's peace, it's authenticity, it's who you are. You don't talk much because you don't need to prove yourself with noise. Your value doesn't depend on volume. Your presence doesn't depend on performance. Your identity doesn't depend on constant conversation. You exist deeply, even when you speak lightly. People who don't talk much aren't invisible. They're simply not loud. Their depth doesn't demand attention. Their truth doesn't need an audience. Their strength doesn't need to be announced. You don't talk much because your silence carries more meaning than most people's words ever could. And that is not a flaw, it is a power.
You grow quieter as you grow older, not because you lose your voice, but because you finally understand its value. You understand how rare it is to be truly heard, how rare it is to feel safe enough to open up, how rare it is to speak without being interrupted, dismissed, or misunderstood. You don't talk much because you've learned something important. Most people listen to reply, not to understand. Most people hear sounds, not meaning. Most people want noise, not truth. So, you keep your truth safe. You keep your stories close. You keep your emotions folded neatly inside your chest. It's not that you don't want to talk. It's that you want to talk to the right person, the right environment, the right moment, the right energy. People who don't talk much aren't antisocial. They're selective about who receives access to their inner world. Some people speak easily because their words cost them nothing. Your words cost you energy. Your openness cost you vulnerability. Your sharing cost you safety. You don't speak unless the space feels right, unless the person feels steady, unless the moment feels genuine, unless your heart says, "This is safe." Quiet people aren't afraid of talking. They're afraid of speaking to the wrong ears. You've learned that silence is better than disappointment. Silence is better than regret. Silence is better than explaining yourself to someone who has already decided not to understand. You've been misunderstood before, maybe too many times, misread, misjudged, misinterpreted. So now you choose your moments, you choose your people, you choose your words carefully. When you trust someone, the quiet person becomes a waterfall, overflowing, honest, warm, open, surprisingly expressive. But that side of you doesn't come out often because trust takes time, energy, safety, reassurance. You don't trust easily, not because you're stubborn, but because your heart is sensitive, and sensitive hearts require gentle hands. People don't talk much for another reason too. They think deeply, they feel deeply, they notice everything. You pick up on expressions others miss, the shift in someone's tone, the way a room changes, the tension between two people, the mismatch between words and body language. You observe first, speak second. Not because you're slow, but because you're accurate, precise, intentional. Fast talkers rarely see what you see. Loud talkers rarely feel what you feel. Your silence is not emptiness, it's awareness. Quiet people are often the ones who understand most because they're not busy filling the air. They're watching, processing, absorbing. But silence has another layer, a deeper one most people never ask about. You don't talk much because your thoughts don't arrive in a straight line. They arrive layered, complicated, detailed, like waves that take time to settle. You speak only after your mind finishes sorting through everything. You're careful, you're precise. You say exactly what you mean and nothing more. People who think deeply speak slowly, not in speed, but in frequency. You don't talk much because thinking is your first language, speaking is your second. You also understand the weight of words. You know once something is spoken, it can't be taken back. It leaves your mouth and enters someone else's world. It can comfort them, break them, change them, hurt them. So you speak with responsibility, with intention, with care. Some people speak recklessly. You don't. You never have. You don't talk much because your honesty is real, not sugar-coated, not shallow, not performative. And real honesty requires courage, and courage requires safety. Not everyone earns that from you. Another truth: you don't talk much because you don't like small talk. Empty conversations drain you. Surface-level topics bore you. You want real connection. You want depth. You want conversations that feel meaningful. Conversations that make you think. Conversations that feel alive. But most people don't want depth. They want convenience. They want fast responses. They want predictable answers. And you can't be predictable. Not with your thoughts, not with your emotions, not with your heart. Quiet people don't do half-alive conversations. They either speak with their whole heart or not at all. That's why some people think you're reserved, or cold, or uninterested. But you're not uninterested. You're uninterested in pretending. You're uninterested in performing. You're uninterested in being someone different to keep conversations alive. You don't talk much because you don't fake who you are. And then there's this. You don't talk much because you're tired, emotionally, mentally, physically. You spend a lot of time inside your mind, thinking, analyzing, sorting, solving, feeling. Thinking takes energy. Feeling takes energy. Processing takes energy. And sometimes you don't have any left for talking. Sometimes you're quiet because you're at capacity. Sometimes you're quiet because you're conserving energy. Sometimes you're quiet because you need space to breathe. Quiet is how you recharge. Quiet is how you reset. Quiet is how you stay connected to yourself. Talking pulls you outward. Silence pulls you inward. You spend more time with your inner world because that's where your clarity is. That's where your peace is. That's where your truth lives. People who don't talk much have rich inner worlds, beautiful ones, complicated ones, deep ones. So deep that words feel too small to express it, too narrow, too incomplete. It's not that you can't express yourself. It's that language feels limited compared to the emotional universe inside you. People don't talk much because they don't want to offer a shallow version of their depth. So they stay quiet, not because they're hiding, but because they're real. Quiet people also listen, truly listen, not waiting for their turn to speak, not thinking about what to say next, not filling the air because silence scares them. You let silence breathe. You let others reveal themselves. You let conversations unfold naturally. Your silence makes people comfortable enough to share things they don't share with anyone else. Quiet people are safe spaces for others, not because they talk a lot, but because they don't. You don't talk much because you respect emotions, yours and others. You don't talk over people. You don't dominate the room. You don't interrupt. You don't over-explain. Your calm presence alone is comforting. But here's something most people don't understand. Quiet people are not always quiet because they want to be. Sometimes they're quiet because the world is too loud, too chaotic, too demanding, too overwhelming. Sometimes silence is sanctuary. Sometimes silence is survival. And sometimes silence is simply enough. Quiet people don't need constant stimulation, constant noise, constant interaction. They're comfortable with themselves, comfortable in their own company, comfortable in their own thoughts. And that comfort is rare, valuable, misunderstood. People ask you why you're quiet, but they never ask what your silence is made of. Your silence holds stories, memories, emotions, truths, insights, observations. Your silence is not a void, it's a container. People who don't talk much often trust actions more than words. They watch how people behave, They rely on patterns, not promises. They trust consistency, not conversation. Because you know words can lie, tone can lie, promises can lie, but actions? Actions rarely do. You don't talk much because you're busy watching. You're busy understanding. You're busy learning people quietly. Quiet people are often the most emotionally intelligent people in the room. They don't need to talk to understand. They feel what others miss. Your silence gives you intuition. Your silence gives you clarity. Your silence gives you emotional wisdom. You don't talk much because you're living in a deeper layer of life. Not superficial, not fast, not loud. Deep, slow, steady, real. And the world needs people like you. People who bring calm instead of chaos, depth instead of noise, awareness instead of impulse. Quiet people aren't broken. They're balanced. They're self-aware. They're internally rich. They're emotionally mature.